Hi, everyone. Different show today since we dipped our toe in the world of docu-series and so on of film in 2019. Had some interesting experiences. We're going to talk about that on the show that we do today with our executive producer of the new filming work that we're going to be doing. His name is Chas Shearer. He's got a long career. You can look him up on IMDb. You'll find out more information about that during the show, but he's been involved in many, many productions. Most recent is probably his work on the second season of True Detective with Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell. But like I said, his resume is very, very long, and we're excited to have him on board. And we're excited to talk today about what it takes to have a mentally healthy film set. I learned a lot of things I didn't really realize, even though I have some really good friends that are in the acting industry. So enjoy today's show. I certainly did. And thanks for listening.
I'm not the house of cards that falls down easily. Oh, I'm strong enough to handle what you throw me.
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I'm your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Just what are we going to discuss? The intimacy that is mental health. Let's continue to make it as comfortable as discussing brain health or heart health. This show has been on the air for several years, and we have amazing co-hosts. And then we created a network of podcasters on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com, a place where every possible facet of mental well-being can be talked about openly. My show, after several hundred interviews, the format is this: intimate, deep, funny, touching, sometimes uncomfortable, but always vulnerable conversations with interesting people. The goal is to have you, our listening family, many of you who have become my good friends, feel as though you are listening in on private conversations. Thank you for tuning in and becoming part of this amazing journey with me, and now with our network of podcasters. Just knowing this podcast might be helping any of you realize you are not alone on this journey called being a human being makes doing this podcast worth every second.
After all, we promised we'd be cordial.
Hi, everyone. Kristin Sunanta Walker here. I am here with a new friend, Chas Shearer, and we're going to talk about what it is to have a mentally healthy film set. And those of you that have, heard a few of my travails, I was on 2 last year. Those are the only 2 I've ever been on where I was a participant. And they were certainly challenging, but not. I spoke with all my friends that are in the industry of film, and they all said, oh, that's nothing. Wasn't healthy, but yeah. So I want to talk to Chas, who has a long career in the industry, about, what is it really to create a mentally healthy film set. So Chas, thanks so much for coming on the show.
You are welcome, Kristin. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure. It really
Absolutely. I got to give a shout out to our mutual friend, Joe Mitch.
Yes. Yes,
now,
please.
Now, you know him from, you guys went to high school together?
Actually, we didn't. We actually met years ago, and then we started corresponding on Facebook together.
Okay.
Okay, I went to Delran High School in New Jersey, and he went to, I believe it was Cherry Hill.
Okay, gotcha. So the tough crowd of New Jersey.
It can be. It can be. It's definitely different than California, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God. Yeah. See, I grew up in Orange County. So yeah, it's very, very different from where I grew up. Absolutely.
That's exactly. And that's where I lived for about 9 years of the 10 years I lived out in California. I went down to Orange County. It was a wonderful experience. I actually had an ex-girlfriend that, she lived down there, and we were dating at the time. And it was such a different atmosphere than it is in New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York areas, where it's all about talking. It's all about how to control the conversation, when out in California, it's all about the listening factor, and it's all about how you can grow over time, not give me now, do me now, do this now, and
Right.
that's how it kind of is on the East Coast in comparison to the West Coast, to me.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So your career is, producer, actor, a miscellaneous crew, director, assistant director, casting department, sound, I mean, stunts. You've done it all. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been involved in your career.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually, I started when I was 10 years old. I started performing on stage. And then from there, I got into doing some voiceover work. And then I went to college for music at Temple University in Philadelphia. And I went to University of the Arts for acting. And when I did a movie with, I did a movie with Nick Nolte and Jennifer Cameron. It was called Warrior. And this was done in 2009, 2008, 2009.
Okay.
We shot the film. I did a stunt in the movie. So I was on my BMX bike on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and there's a scene that I'm riding in front of Nick Nolte as he's running across the street to get into the casino, and he pushes me aside, and I fall down on this crash pad, and it was a lot of fun. But my agent at that time said to me, the East Coast has nothing for you anymore. You've got to move west. I said, really? She said, yeah, you've been in the industry for a long time. It's time to really gain that experience. So back in about 2009, I moved out to California. And at that time, before I moved out, I met this amazing friend of mine. His name is Ryan Calloway, and I always want to give a shout out to him because he runs his own production company in New Jersey called Shady Dawn Pictures. Does a lot of independent films, horror films, and it's a lot of fun out there doing a project like that with him. But he and I gained that experience together in like 2008. We started working together. He would write these projects, these scripts, in a day, in a week. He'd write a whole feature film.
Wow.
And exactly. And I would come in and I'd come in and talk to him about casting, and we'd get everything together. So I learned a lot from him how to produce, not from him, but with him is the basics. Because he would tell you now, he doesn't know it as much as he knows now, from doing so many projects over the course of
Right.
12 years. I mean, it's been 12 years. But he and I were partners working at Shady Dawn, doing this ourselves independently. And then when I moved out to California, I was on the set of True Detective on HBO, and I was acting in 3 episodes with Vince Vaughn, and it was a great experience. And I'm sitting at home, and I get this email from this writer, and I am such an advocate myself. I go out and I email a lot of different directors and writers and executive producers, and I ask them all the time, how can I help get your project from being in development to being in production? How can I help? Right? So I contacted this writer because I had a couple friends in this TV series that he was trying to accomplish. They were just cast in it. They didn't do anything yet. It wasn't, in the hands of any networks or anything.
Yeah.
So he wrote me back and he said, you know what? I need you to be a producer on this. I need you to be a showrunner. Take it to HBO since you just worked with HBO. So I took it and ran with it myself. Different executive producers that did True Detective took a look at my pitch that I did for the show, and they enjoyed it. They liked it. I was on the phone with them for over a year trying to figure out what they wanted to do with it. And it came down from between that TV series and another one, and they picked the other one. And I thanked them for everything. And from there, I ran with it to my own executive producer that has worked on a lot of hit TV shows and films. And she said, "That's a great series. Let me get in. Let me rewrite it. Let me see what I can do." And I said, "That's wonderful, you know." And then we started, taking it to HBO again and all the networks, and that's what we do as producers. So
Interesting.
it is so interesting because every day is so different. Every day is so different. We don't have a set schedule. As an actor, I would work with my managers, my talent agents, and they would, always tell me what was coming up, what I needed to do. When you work as a producer, you're that boss. You're working with your other bosses, and you make life happen. You make someone's dreams come true. As an actor, like I said, I worked on many stages. I worked in touring company shows throughout the country, and I did voiceover work. And then from there, I got into commercials, and then film, and then TV was the last hurrah for me. And True Detective was the last acting job that I've had, that I've
Okay.
really had, and I've had in front of the camera. So,
Right. And now what would you say your title would be in what you're doing with us, with my network?
well, I am more of a producer with you, a
Okay.
creative consultant with you. I'm there to help represent, and I am, like we talked about, more of an executive producer
Right.
alongside with you and the team. So
Okay.
I'm there through the whole process
Whole
with you,
shebang.
the
Yes,
whole
exactly.
shebang.
So
That's
listeners,
what I love.
don't lose heart. We are moving forward with some things. We're just
We are.
retooling what we're doing. We've got a lot of different shows that we've come up with, but um it was a fascinating experience for me to I feel like I went to school in terms of, what a film set's like, how you pull all the pieces together. And I took control of the first one in terms of the mood, and everybody that was part of who I brought in, except for maybe a couple people, because there's all, with that many people, there's always going to be some stragglers, but 90% of everyone just felt cared for. They felt nurtured. They felt safe. And considering the fact that we were talking about things like sexual abuse, depression, suicide and suicidal ideation, people were sharing things that they hadn't shared on camera before. So for them to say to me that they felt safe, made me feel really good. And it made me think, okay, well, there's a lot to making sure that people have that feeling, especially when we're doing something about mental, health.
Definitely.
And then the next one, I took a back seat and I let someone else handle the tone that and it didn't go well. No one felt safe, no one felt comfortable, whatever. And I'm not blaming anybody. It just was interesting to wear those different hats. So for me, going forward, it is really important for me, since we are going to do serious topics. I mean, if anyone can take a look at all the shows on the network, and we go from a psychologist whose husband was murdered and dismembered, and she's doing a show called The Domino Effect of Murder, where she's speaking with victims or families of people, and EMTs and anyone involved around someone who's been murdered, and how that affects their mental health. And then we have another show where we have a therapist who has stage 4 ovarian cancer, and she's doing a show to
Wow.
help people with terminal illnesses deal with their mental health. I mean, this is, these are the kinds of things that we do around here. And so, yeah, it's really important for us to have a set where people don't feel like they're being sensationalized, where they don't feel like they're being marginalized, where people feel heard and safe and inspired to open up,
Always.
because something about the camera can make people really shut down and get nervous. So for
It
you
does.
and all the experience that you've had, what sets, and what did you take from them where you just felt that, that nurturing, where you could just, even if it was not, a
I
serious
like that.
subject, but where you just felt nurtured
Right.
to go to the core of you and show your soul and knew that it was safe.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, and let me tell all the listeners something. Being in front of the camera is an intimate conversation.
Oh yeah.
It is in between you and the camera. Okay. It's so different how quaint and taken aback that it really is. It's just you being you, and you have to be honest with yourself to be in front of that camera. And that's why a lot of people have problems and struggle and don't
Mm,
know, how to take it and how to say and project the right words. And I've learned over the years that there are a lot of sets, a lot of film sets, TV sets, and even on stage, the theater, that are very, um, I always say they're dark, meaning there are bad things that are happening around in the
right.
environment. And we do always need to keep everyone safe. As a producer, we have different scenarios that we go through. Okay. There's insurance that we have to get to make sure someone like a certain actor that has done drugs in their life, um, or an actress maybe that was on an airplane and yelling at people. I'm not going to go into those people's names. I want to keep them private, but
And
they're
you want to
all
keep your
have been in the
career.
news before. Exactly.
Right.
But there are people that have had those problems, and when you want to hire them on and cast them into another film project or TV show, we most of the time can't do it because insurance purposes will not allow us to,
Right.
because they are too expensive to keep, or we need security to be on set to keep them safe, or we need an assistant there with them. And we are like the buffers. We come on set and we are there to say, okay, what do you need right now? What do you need today to keep you going when we know you may be experiencing another addiction or a problem, but we're not going to tell you how to live your life. But we're there to, again, like Kristen's saying, there has to be a protection
Right.
there. So we research before we do a project. We find out that, okay, we're filming in Texas. Right down the street from where we're filming, there are 4 bars.
Uh,
How do we protect these certain people from these 4 bars, that they are not going to go there at night? How do we protect them? How do we get them the counseling that they need on set too? We can provide things like that. It comes out of the budget, but that's why there's insurance there, and that's why a lot of people don't want to work with certain individuals, because that would raise the stakes, that would raise the budget, that would raise the concern. There would be a lot of bad publicity.
mm,
But like I've learned, whenever there's any type of publicity, it's still publicity. It's
right.
still going to help the sale of the movie, whether we like it or not. I've had a couple people that I've worked with in the past. Again, never naming names. I don't do that. I believe in HIPAA. When I worked in healthcare for many, many years, as well as acting professionally. Um, they were in the same boat even on their Instagram pages. They'd have
Ah,
pictures of them with a bottle in their hands or something of that nature. That doesn't protect them, their work, because that's what it's all about, their work, but it's also about their emotional state of mind. And
right.
that type of thing does not help you in the long run, in the future, and this present day. Um, so,
So really I was being an executive producer on the first, I mean on both of them, but I really was in the first one because I was shepherding, I planned the whole thing. I didn't have anything to do with the film crew. That was planned
gotcha.
by somebody else. But what I noticed was you have these two separate universes. So you had me, and I'm in charge of all the people that are involved and the location and the food and what we're going to do
Right.
in terms of the production. And then the crew took care of the crew. And I told them what I wanted, how I wanted the set to be. And they had to figure out how to make that happen and also come to me and say, okay, well, that's great what you want, but let's get real here because we can't blah, 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 those kind of
Right.
discussions. But what was fascinating for me was there was so much fighting and ego amongst the crew, like a
It
camera
happens.
guy fighting ego with the director and all this stuff that I kept, and it was Herculean. I kept all that drama away from the participants who were there to share and bear their soul. So they had no idea what was going on. And I
Correct.
was walking in between two worlds. I was focused on, I'm the host of every single thing. And I wasn't supposed to be. I was supposed to share duties, but the guy that was going to do it with me chickened out at the very last minute. So I literally had to
Oh, okay.
be the host of every table and hold that emotional space for all of these people sharing what they're sharing. And I had no idea what I was doing either. So there was that. But what was interesting for me was to go through that experience while also dealing with all of this chaos and drama that was in my home because I had people, for cost wise, I had people staying in my house, which is like a sacred space for me. So
Correct.
I learned a lot about, okay, I need to protect myself, and that when a film crew comes to me and tries to rush and do, I mean, I ended up doing 4 discussions about like 10 or 15 different major topics, holding emotional space for people. So we're talking
Wow.
8 or 9 hours of me hosting. I was
That's
at
a lot.
every table, and it was only supposed to be 2 a day, and I ended up doing 4 in a day. And because they wanted to get out and get home early, and I didn't know enough to say, hey, that is not okay. Like I am not at my best holding that
Right.
kind of I mean, by the end of the day, my makeup was in my, just physically, my makeup was in my shoes, my I was exhausted, emotionally exhausted because of all this stuff that was
Right.
going on around me. I'm glad it all happened. I really am glad because it taught me so much about
Oh,
what you're talking about with
yes.
producers and making things safe. There's so much going on. And what was great was having all these mental health people around that were part of the who was on film. They were so protective of me because they were like, I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know how you're
That's
still,
wonderful.
doing it. But I knew next time and the next time and the next time, we're going to have I'm going to hand pick who is a part of this process because we have to work. It's such a team effort, basically, is what I learned.
Yes. It's just like at any other job. You leave your ego at the
Yeah.
door. You were talking about film sets and asking me which one I felt the most comfortable on. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you a story. I was on a film set with many A-list actors. I mean, I'm talking major A-list actors. There were like 35 of them. Okay.
Wow.
Big, but it was an independent film. But it was still with all the unions. Okay. It was a union film. And when I was on set every day of that project. like when you said, when you were looking at my IMDb and said that I was a part of, I'm trying to remember all my titles, but I
Yeah, there's a
stood
long
in,
list. Yeah.
right, but I stood in. I was a utility stand in, which means I stand in for all the shorter people because I'm only 5'5". So all the women and all the men I would stand in for. So, when they were working on the lights, figuring out where the camera was going to be, there I am.
Okay.
So I worked every day on that film set. Well, when we were into the first week of filming, the major executive producer and the assistant director started going at it. One was female, one's a male. I'm not going to tell you which one was which, but they started yelling at each other. Their egos were
Right.
going after each other over and over and over again every day. Then, because she knows karate and all this stuff, she was like, "I'm just going to get you." And she's. Think I think I saw something of that nature happen. But
Wow.
anyway, he stopped. He apologized. And, and she, protected all of us because the ego was there. And she, the executive producer, is a sweetheart. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she's great at what she does. And I wish she got to do it a lot more. But it's that bottom line of she came around, protected the whole cast and crew. It was a wonderful experience. That assistant director was going to leave, was going to quit. He was like, "I'm just going to quit." Then she said to him, "You're not going to quit. I still believe in you. You just got to knock off that ego." Right?
Yeah.
So he stayed on board and it all worked out. He didn't belittle anyone anymore. There's a term in Hollywood that's called below the line. If you ever look at a cast and crew sheet and you hear someone say, now back in the 80s, 90s, they used to use the phrase below the line all the time until 2000. And I know when I moved out there and, someone used it to me and all these other actors and producers and directors were hanging around me and they're all like, we get offended by that term now, below the line. Like, what does that mean? It means below the line, like you're not as important, but you are important.
Mm,
Everyone on a film set, everyone is as important as the next person.
right.
And we all need to treat each other with as much respect as possible. If we see anything that's happening, we need to figure out a solution right away. We need to go back, we need to have a meeting, and we need to talk about it. When I was on another film set, one of the main actors was doing drugs in his trailer, and he was let go. Um, there was another film project that I was a part of that some extras that were in the movie, background players or background actors, were taking video and pictures of the set and everyone on it, and that's not right. That's not fair.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a huge
you know,
no-no.
so that
Yeah.
again, we protect and we say, okay, you're not in it anymore. Please confiscate your phones. Let us, see or delete them right now. It's kind of like, it's kind of like the police force. We
Yeah.
have to get in there, and we're not the law, but when you have so much money riding on something
Right.
and insurance and all these people that trust in you, you want to bring out the best in everyone. So
Yeah.
what I always do is every day before we're shooting, I give a little pep talk. I walk around to all the actors, all the directors, all the camera operators, everyone, the wardrobe. I walk around and I ask them how they're doing. Do you
Yeah.
need anything right now? I'm the type of producer, even as a producer, I overhear that one of the actresses needs some tea, some hot tea because their throat's bothering them. And the other producers and executive producers are trying to get one of the production assistants to go get them tea. What do? I
You get
go
the
run.
tea.
I
Yeah.
go running to Crafty and go get the tea for them. I don't mind. I love every aspect of everything that we do, and um, that keeps everyone knowing that we're all on the same level. There's
Right.
no one higher. There's no one lower,
There's
and
no
that's what
below the
keeps the
line.
safety. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what was interesting was the mass amount of ego on both sets, just this mass amount of ego and warring factions. And like I said, I learned a lot. I learned I will invite who I trust to, no more amateur hour with people that come to me and
Right.
say, "Oh, I'll do this and I'll do it for free." Okay, no. We're going to raise money so that we can hire professionals and grown-ups and people that have know how to check an ego. We're going to do these things right, but
Right.
I'm glad I had the experience. But I also learned control the money because we raised money for somebody and
Wait.
they took off with it and didn't hand over a film. And everybody put money and time and all that into it, and the only one entity got paid, and that entity was the one that was supposed to deliver, and they just didn't. They just have held it
That
hostage.
that happens quite a bit.
It
I was
does, I've
right.
found.
I've been part of a project for years, and I talk to my friends that are producing it, and they work with a mainstream country singer from back in the day, and he's in his 80s now, I believe, and they've been doing this film project for many, many, many years. I'm talking maybe 16 to 18 years or so. They've been trying to get this off the ground, and and then I heard that they had money from different executives, and now one of them is trying to get their money back after all these years.
Right,
You use uh, that money when it comes in as it's seen fit. So
right,
if you're in pre-production and you need a cast and you need to check out locations, it costs money to take an airplane to fly out to another state to check out what's going on, to stay in a hotel. That's all in the production budget,
right,
and it's called upfront monies, or pre-production monies, and they used that money, and then now, years later, they're still trying to get everything together, and that's the thing is when it comes to the finances, uh, making sure that everything's going to be in there. You're right. You have to work with people you completely trust. There are even, we've all heard horror stories of accountants that have been taking different actors and actresses money
right,
over the years. It's even happening with the banks taking the elderly's financial security, taking their houses. So it happens everywhere you turn, and you
right,
need to really protect those assets and realize that you need a wonderful team to back you up. You need a team that has experience. It's
yeah,
like it's like when I do a project now. I talk to my executive producer about someone all the time. I get emails and phone calls throughout the weeks. Okay, we're doing a film in regards to a slave named Robert Smalls. We've been doing this project for quite a while, and we're in pre-production. We're so excited that we're going to get into filming very soon. And this is a big budgeted feature film. Okay. And when you're doing something like that, I get emails. My production company, AJ Quotages Entertainment, will get emails and I'll get phone calls weekly from people that just finished directing project and then they believe that they should work with us. And I look
Right.
at
I
the
get it all the
resume
time too.
all the
Yeah.
exactly. So I get these emails and with their resumes and I look at it and I do my due diligence and I sit down and I say, okay, your last project that you were a DP on, a director of photography, was a project that was at a budget of $3 million. I'm like, I'll write back to them and say, congratulations, that's wonderful. Like, great, that's great news. Keep it up. I keep them motivated. But then what I do is I realize, okay, $3 million. Well, our project is of a higher caliber. Can they really be the head DP, director of photography, for our feature film?
Right. For
No.
something that
They,
has a
they,
budget that's well over $3 million.
correct. They can't. Not yet. They can be an assistant. Great. They can work with the team. Great. So I send that whole email and a little blip to my executive, and she'll write back to me, and she always says, you're right. And then she'll put in how she feels, and she'll let me know that, once, if they keep getting back to me every month with 3, 4, 5 other projects that they're doing each month, and the budget's getting higher and higher, we can definitely find them a job somewhere along the line. But when it comes to growing, that's what it's all about. It's all about knowing that right now their highest budget's $10 million. Can they do something that's higher if they keep working on that? But it has to be a consistency thing too. It doesn't matter if you do one project that's $10 million and then you're asking for more and more work at that's way higher. You need to do a few projects that are at $10 million and not go back down to something that's $250,000, $1 million,
Gotcha.
$500,000. Then you did a project for free, and then you do another project at $10 million, like 5 years later. It's that consistency basis that we really look for. I know Joe, it tells me that he would like to host more. So I talk to him about it, the same type of thing. You know, you want to get into hosting? That's wonderful. You can do it, and he can do it. Anyone can do it if they put their mind to it. They practice. They go to some acting lessons, acting classes, training. I tell people all the time that you're born with that gift. Like, I was born with the gift, but I did not know I had it until I was 10.
Gotcha.
And then I got trained under amazing teachers, and that helps me realize it. And now, if I want to get trained, I only do it to refresh, but I don't do it full time to learn, because I've learned every emotion you can to be an actor. It's all about emotions. To be a host, it's all about being who you are and being truthful in
Right.
your own heart and your own words, like I've said before.
Yeah. In terms, okay, so all that being said, in terms of the tone of a set, no matter what you're doing, or let's say it's for a documentary that's on a, obviously a very serious subject, what of the great ones that you've been on the set for, how are the people like the producers, the director, and so on that are setting the tone so that your people in front of the camera can convey their truest, most authentic and comfortable self come forth? How do they You know, how have you seen that done well, and how have you seen it done where somebody's been holding space for a long time, a lot's been going on, and they just can't anymore, so we need to wrap that day and go to the next. So what's the balance?
I have seen both, definitely. When it comes to coming on set, most of them are very professional. You don't know them from anyone else. You don't know what's going on in their private life. They keep it all, it's all, we're coming to work and then we're going home. That's the bottom line. Then you come on a set that someone, like you said, I mean, someone who is maybe they're set, maybe they've realized they're over budget. Okay, so they need to get another loan from someone. They need, someone got injured on set. The camera broke. They know that they need extra money. They're flipping out and they can't control it anymore. And they're basically yelling and screaming and throwing the script on the ground and getting in everyone's face and not understanding what's going on. When you see that, you have to remember that you're there to do a job and you've got to do it the best that you can, because everyone in this industry is replaceable.
Right.
It is easy to be replaced, and you've got to make a name for yourself that you were super calm, super professional, and that you really brought out the best. And like I've said, I've had little talks with everyone. I even as an actor, I was very good at calming down executive producers on set quite a bit. It's true. I'd ask, like, because quite a few of them are my friends. So when I got hired on or cast into a project, you become friends with these people, especially if I stand in for different actors. I would be on set every day. So you're basically family for those 50 days, okay? 65 days, 40 days. If it's a television series, you're standing in, or for 26 episodes out of the year, the season, 26 weeks of working together, 5 days a week. You become a family. So that's how it is. And when you work that much, you can see if there's a problem in someone's eyes. But when you come on and you're there for like one day, or it's your first day and you're really scared and you're really worried, like for me, I was an actor in this feature film, and I stood in for, again, many A-list actors. I was standing there on my first day. The camera operator, the DP, the director of photography, and the camera operator, and everybody, the assistant director, I think it was the second assistant director, came up to me. And he said to me, "Why are you shaking? Are you nervous? You scared?" I said, "No, I'm not scared at all. I've done this for many years." I said to him, I said, "I have Tourette's." And he said to me, "Oh, you do? Do you curse?" And I'm like, no, I don't. That's only 1% of us. We curse. 1% of us do. The stigma from Hollywood and making it that Tourette, people with Tourette's curse all the time and they're agitated,
Right.
is false. It's false. But after letting them know what my deal was, they started treating me much better. They started realizing, oh, okay. What do you need anything while you're waiting there, standing in for? I'm going to give you one name, one person that I stood in for, Kevin Connolly. I stood in for Kevin Connolly for a couple films and a TV series. Great, great, great guy. He's a pal. He and I would work together. We'd go over his lines. We'd work very hard together every day. But when I was standing in for him in this scene, and the camera operator started talking to me, he started realizing, and he looked up what Tourette's was, and he made me feel safe. Okay, that was the turning point, I think, for me to become more of a producer, because I'm behind the scenes more. I
Right.
can see what's going on set, because I would hear people make fun of people that were acting in a scene, right?
Right.
So as a producer, what I tell all these writers now, and I tell executives, and I tell directors, and I say, look, we're going to keep everyone protected on this set now. We're going to talk to them. If there's a problem, you can always come to me. I'm your buddy. I'm
Right.
your friend. I want you to feel as protected as possible, and to make the scene amazing. Like in a movie, when there is a raunchier scene, when there is a sex scene, when there is, people don't realize how confined it is. It's usually just the camera operator, and it's just the boom operator, and that's about it.
And the
And
director. Yeah,
and
obviously.
the director, sometimes they're out, sometimes
Ah,
they're not right behind the camera, or sometimes they're watching from afar, or they are watching in the monitor, but they're not
interesting.
in that scene. They're
Mm,
not right there. And how do you protect them to make them feel comfortable enough to be able to do this scene, which is simulated? It's not real. It's
right.
not real at all. But how to keep everyone safe, and to realize that they're not going to get bullied, because a lot of those people get bullied in the end.
Mm,
And we need to sit down and prepare before it even happens, and then while it's happening, and then after it happens. And what people don't realize, there's a lot of performers in a movie, or anything like that go to counseling afterwards, because they need to get out of that headspace of what that character did to them.
right.
Okay,
Exactly.
that's what they need, and that's the safety, and that's where the unions are put into place to help keep them safe as well. You know, and it's a
I
huge.
know I went to counseling after these two experiences, and I was already in counseling, and my counselor was like,
Right.
you need to look at this, stay positive. You need to look at this as you went to a baby film school, since it
Right.
was your first one out of the gate. So just these were learning curves. These things were never meant to be on film. And this was school. And obviously, you continue to go to school no matter how high up the chain you go. But
Correct.
that was a great way for me to go, okay, so I can let this go. I think I know I took the weight on of, oh my gosh, these are my people. This is a representative of my company. I've raised money from my clients, and now they're all being abused and bullied. And so I took on the weight of all of that, because I'm a good person. But the reality is, what I've learned a lot from you and from some of my other friends that are in the industry is, projects can go on for decades before they actually get made, or they never get made. There's always things, in out in the work. So what I took is this huge failure on my part, that a
Gotcha.
project didn't get out on film. It was this big failure. I learned, oh, wait a minute, no, that is not a failure.
That's right.
That's just the way it goes, and that is the training ground for the one that is going to eventually end up out there, and that will be the right one that was supposed to
That's
be out
right.
there, because I still
You
took
didn't
it.
fail.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah,
fail at all.
yeah.
No way. Not even close.
So,
Not even close.
it was really good, and I'm so excited that we're working together. I'm excited about Adam Klugman, who's such a veteran in the industry.
That's right.
He's going to be directing. We're going to be working with Frank King, and we've got multiple series that we're pitching to you to get your, you're the industry expert here. So we're pitching them to you and you'll tell us that's a good one, maybe not so much on this one. And I've learned we need to have multiple things out of the gate because you never know what's going
Yes,
to hit.
that is correct. Always. I tell people all the time, it's like as an actor, you have one project, okay? You're standing on set and it's the last day of filming and you're about to wrap and you don't have another project in the works, you're in trouble. You can't pay rent, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I teach, because I'm a public speaker as well, and I teach all the time. And, I'm a literary manager, so I work with writers all day. So I tell even my writers, just because you're done and you want to take a vacation, if you take a vacation, I hope on that vacation you're still writing another project.
Yeah.
Because when I pitch a project, I like to have at least 3 projects on my computer, on my desk. So when I go into that meeting, I can tell them about 3 of your projects. So at least one will stick in their head. Okay?
Right. Well, I'm coming at you
That's
with
what it's all about.
5.
I love it.
So you can
Love
go,
that.
okay, I haven't even, and listeners, I will share with you what they are too. We are going to reveal them soon. But Chas, thank you so much for, working with us. Thanks to Joe for sending you our way. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited about this. There's so much synergy now that
I'm honored. I'm honored
Mm,
to work with you. So,
fantastic. Well,
and the
tell our
team.
exactly the team, exactly. And you've got your fingers in a lot of things, and so do I, and that don't have anything to do with what we're talking about. And then this is just another piece of that world that we each create in terms of what we're putting out, out into the world to help be of service to as many people as possible.
That is right. And that's what life's all about, is touching everyone's life, not keeping it for yourself, and
Exactly.
it's great that we can get the proper knowledge out there. And that's what I try to teach is even when I talk about the industry, it's about not only when people only love to talk about when they make it. Oh, I made
Yeah.
it. Look at me now.
Right.
No one really talks about the struggle. No one talks about how to just survive it. And that's what it's
Yes.
all about. It's all about survival of the
It is
fittest
it is
to be able to make
making it
it.
through. This is something I've learned too in doing this network, which, and I'm sorry, listeners, Chas doesn't know this, but this network, I made a ton of money as a consultant in technology, and I put every dime of it into creating this network. And when I say that, I mean when I say I put every dime in it, I mean that when somebody else says they're broke, and that just means that maybe they don't have 20 bucks in their pocket, and that's it. When you spend that kind of money and you do this mission and it keeps, eating it up because it takes time to build things. When I would say I'm broke, that literally meant I may not be able to buy dinner for myself for another week. So,
Right.
and that's what you do. You put you put yourself up against that. And so I like to share that story of people can look at the network site and see all these shows and oh my gosh, and they get a persona or a perception around what that must be and how someone's life must be because of what they see. And
Right.
what they don't take into consideration is that person can still be broke, trying to make it. Last week felt like they should just give it all up. This was a ridiculous endeavor. There's so much of that goes on into creating the overnight success.
That's correct. I lived out of my car for a year and a half out in Hollywood.
Yep. Yep.
You survive, you sacrifice, and you pull through. And you tell
Exactly.
yourself how much you can do it. And you don't take no as an answer ever.
That's right.
Ever. You can do it.
That's
You
right.
can do it.
Well, tell
So,
our listeners where they can find out more about you.
well, I think the best way is if they just Google my name and type in CHAS and then my last name, Shearer, SCHERER. That would be the best way to Google me and to gather information on me. My IMDb page pops up right away. I think that's probably going to be the best. I looked at my IMDb page and it has all these numbers, and I know there's imdb.me /Chas Shearer, but if you just Google my name, CHASSCHERER, it'll all come up and you'll see as much as you need to see. I think that's going to be the best way.
Fantastic. Well, listeners, stay tuned. There's so much exciting stuff going on with this network and what we're doing, branching into doing web series and also things on film and things for television. We have companies already interested in, I mean, they're waiting. They're like, look, these 2 amateur hour things were phenomenal. Thank you for showing us snippets. We see what you can do. And now you need to raise funding so that we don't do amateur hour again. And I don't mean to say amateur hour like I'm putting anything down. It just, that's reality. It's like what you were saying, Chas, about, someone gaining experience. You've got to start somewhere. So
that's right.
That's where we started and learned a lot. And, but the material that we bring to the table is so intense and so can be of such good service that we're going to work with you to make sure that we have enough funding to make it as incredible and safe and welcome and warm as we possibly, and well filmed as we possibly can.
That's right. That's beautifully said. That was beautifully said.
Listeners, thank you for tuning in and going on this journey with us on Mental Health News Radio, produced by
Thank you, listeners.
Yes, Mental Health News Radio Network.
Kristin.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'm passive aggressive, but never without good intentions. I heat up and act on my emotions.
Thanks so much for listening to Mental Health News Radio. Our podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and hundreds of other podcast apps. Or you can visit our website at mentalhealthnewsradio.com. If you have a question or would like to be a guest, become a podcaster on our network, or join the amazing organizations that help keep us on the air, please email us at info@mhnrnetwork.com. Get ready for that special goodbye from our resident therapy dog, Miles, and a special thanks to Emily Sohn for letting us use her incredible song, Cordial, for our podcast music. Listen to the full song on SoundCloud at emily.sonne.
Don't be surprised when I don't hate on you. After all, we promised we'd be cordial. Sometimes in you I can find it, but I'm opposing.
Good boy.